Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 2 o'clock/1 p.m. update. So right now we are tracking down Tropical Storm Elsia. That's how I pronounce it. If you pronounce it a different way, sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. But we have a lot to talk about 'cause since last night it has become a tropical storm. Instead of it being Invest 97L, it's now officially a tropical storm. Thank you for the guys that are subscribing, people that are subscribing to me and showing a bunch of love. We went from 8 to 15, which surprised me. That's probably the most I've had subscribers in that small period of time in like 10 hours. So, as I say, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share this video. If you do subscribe, make sure you turn on those post notifications. So right now we're looking at Elsia, and right now we're not seeing too much of rotation, not too much of a clear rotation. So we switch our colors. As you guys can see, we're seeing more of the strongest part of the storm, which is probably the center is right in here right now. Um, it was spinning about yesterday, had a little bit of clear rotation, but with that dry air that got mixed up with it layer last night that closed in with the storm, it kind of affected a little bit. But we're going to be moving on to our cone. So this is our cone for the next probably until Tuesday. So as you guys can see, we officially have tropical storm warnings for parts of the islands. And then maybe as we keep on going and passing the islands, then we could probably see Jamaica get on their tropical storm watch in the next probably 48 hours. So this is our cone. As you guys can see, we do have a different cone since yesterday night, since my last video. You guys can see that we have more of a set and bend. Yesterday's cone, as you guys see, it kind of went like this. Instead of that, this way on the I believe this is the 12 o'clock updation. So as you guys can see, we're not seeing too much of a difference besides maybe shifting a little bit more to the east. Maybe landfall north of Tampa. We just have to keep an eye on that. So if we look at our next 5 days, or we'll probably look at the next 2 days, but here now we're at our pressure is 1006 MB, 40 knots, which is 45 miles an hour. The movement is 28 miles per hour. It's moving towards west, so it's going west right now. Uh, so right now this is our advisory for this storm. So you guys can see that we no percentage now. We're actually at 100% sure that's going to be forming. So we look at our next 2 day forecast. This is the cloud cover for the storm right now. Looking pretty big cloud cover, if I say. And then we have another storm behind Elsia, and then maybe something to watch that's coming off the African coast. So right now we have three storms that are lining up. We do have to keep an eye on maybe this one, but I don't think it's gonna be nothing. But just keep an eye on it just to be sure, and maybe this one that might not be a concern too. But right now we are focused on Elsia because that one could be making potential landfall in the U.S. probably the next probably for 5 days. um, so link down below for this website. This is Mike's web page or any website I use. I'll put a link down below. So if we look at our tropical storm force winds, this is our probability of percentage. As you guys can see, our highest probability right now is for the islands, which is at a 60 all the way up to 80%. So right now we this is something we gotta play, and as we storm keeps moving, this probability of 100% is gonna keep moving up into Cuba if the storm does not dissipate and die off. Um, so if we go to our intensity guide, as you guys see, the models have been dropping off it. And this in the last probably since last run, since the 6Z run. So you guys can see a lot of models are showing maybe tropical storm. We're in the middle right now. The GFS is saying maybe a good hurricane that's going to be making landfall for the parts of the Gulf of Mexico, making its way into the Gulf of Mexico, and maybe landfall in the Panhandle of Florida, even north of Tampa Bay. So it's something we have to watch. Right now, we're in the middle of seeing what models are green because the GFS is saying strong. The European is saying no. It's going to carry by the front in the Atlantic and being taken off. So we'll actually be looking at that in a minute once we look at the GFS ensembles. If you guys look with the GFS ensembles, if we look right here, right now, as you guys can see, sorry for noise in the background, um, that we can see that, and then these right here mark hours right here. These are hours, hour 24, next 48 hours, 72 hours away from now. So this is something we were talking about in the next 96 hours. We're talking about it might dissipate because it might be hitting some islands of mountains. And we talk about right before landfall 998. I do expect these pressures to go down as we keep on getting closer to landfall, maybe potential landfall. We don't know because the European could be right, but the GFS was just had a lot of money put into it in the last 3 months, which spent a lot of money into it. So we'll just have to keep an eye out on that. So if we go to forecast models, we're gonna look at the GFS and then maybe the European and the GFS is showing some type of storm that's going to be strong in the next, making landfall maybe Tuesday. So as you guys can see, there's our storm right here. It's sitting at 1006. Then talking about around maybe 999. We're talking about Friday. If you guys are wondering what the hours are, this is next 30 hours right here, and this is the next probably 24 hours. So I meant not 24 hours. I don't know what I was thinking. Right here is your July 2nd. So that's something we do have to keep an eye on. That's your guys' hours, if you guys are just wondering. So making its way into the Caribbean Sea, you were talking about entering the Caribbean Sea as 987. This is around June, or I meant July 3rd. So this is hour 42. And then as we make our way, making its way over a small island, talking about dissipating because of high mountains around July 5th, and maybe making its way into the Gulf of Mexico, forming and saying 984, and maybe making landfall as 978, which is a good weak hurricane, Cat 1. So that's it's something to keep in mind, and making its way over the crossing the Florida area, and maybe making its way into the Atlantic side, forming on edge and crossing through the um, Carolina area. Like I said, this is possible. I think the GFS and European are going to meet up in some type of way. It's a little concerning that we're only 5 days out from landfall, and no models are green whatsoever. So this is something we do have to keep an eye on. If we go to the European is saying a whole entire game, different game. All right, so we go back. We go to this is our storm is going to be located right in here, as you guys can see. This is in the Caribbean Sea, and then our storm is dissipating right on top of the Bahamas Islands. Our storm is right here at this time. Talking about it might be carried by our cold front right here, this front right here that's going to be stalling on top of the United States for the Friday all the way into Saturday that we're talking about. Or no, this is a different front. My bad. Then this might be carried by a front and there because we're talking about this Bermuda height is going to be backing up a little bit to cause this storm to slip in there and go away. So I don't know. This is something that the European and GFS are not agreeing on, which the European has been coming around to saying that the storm is strong because just 2 days ago the storm wasn't even showing nothing. The European was not showing nothing. So I think that it's going to go two either ways. The GFS is right or the European's right. I think they're going to meet up in the middle. It's going to be a strong tropical storm. It's going to be a weak Category 1, a very weak Category 1. So, but it's just a matter of where we're going to see landfall because the GFS is saying the Gulf of Mexico on the Florida side. The European is saying no landfall, get carried by a front, and the Bermuda high is going to back up and allow that storm to carve in and get carried by the front. So I don't know what we could see. We can take a look at the CMC real fast to see what we might be seeing with the CMC because the CMC and the GFS are kind of green a little bit. These are probably only models, but the CMC is not the best model out there. The European, I know last year for the summer of last hurricane season was not doing too good. So I don't know. but the GFS and European, I'm at the GFS and CMC are agreeing a little bit. So it's something we have to keep in mind but the CMC is saying landfall around Key West, which is going to be an Irma type of hurricane right there, but not as strong, very weak. But if we look at our H wharf, as you guys can see right here, we're going to look at this. I do not go off this model. I just like to show it because it is it's it's not the best model out there. Especially it loves to over exaggerate. I like to say it's a GFS on steroids pretty much, which is made by the same people that make the GFS. So, but this model right here is very over exaggerating. I feel like I don't think we're going to be seeing what this satellite is saying right here. So as we keep on moving, we're talking about 1,000. Okay, there, and maybe making its way across the islands. As you guys see right here, we have little islands as 995 makes sense. This sounds good. It is updating currently right now. But I'll take you guys to last run actually, which is only probably uh. I'll show you guys the next run and probably the 9 o'clock update tonight. Um, do 2 videos a day now, so I will be seeing if I could try to make a 2 day video, two videos per day. So this is gonna be the 60 this morning's run, and as you guys can see, 984 entering the Caribbean Sea. So GFS and um Ainsworth are green on this, but it's the fact that when it hits Cuba towards the islands, we're talking about we could be seeing a strong storm that's talk about 965, which I don't go off anything this thing says because this model is not the best model out there. To be honest, it's probably one of the worst models out there. Not the worst, but it's it's always over exaggerating. I feel like so. I don't know. Honestly, we just have to see. None of these models are really green right now because that's something we just have to keep an eye on. So here is our heat content where our tropical storms are supported, our hurricanes slash are supported. So as you guys can see that this storm that is located right now is in a sort of favorable condition, not too much, but it is kind of. As you guys see, our most favorable is in the Caribbean Sea, and the storms talk about making its way into the Caribbean Sea, and then we talk about another little slot piece right here that could be favorable conditions for the storm. So that's another reason why it could be a good tropical storm, or a weak hurricane. So this is something, but with the wind shear has weakened a lot, but it has expanded the blue. But this right here is not going to really affect the storm. The storm is more back here right now, so this is going to probably be moving its way out. So I'm not worried about wind shear. Then we look into our African dust. And we can get to it real fast to see what we're right here. So this is June 1st. So this is tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. As you guys can see, our tropical storm is going to be our tropical storm future hurricane is going to be right in here, which has dust wrapped around it a lot actually. A little surprising. That's going to help it, I think, weaken it a little bit. It might have a hard time strengthening in that right there. If I wish I could zoom in. Let's see if we can zoom in real fast. Let's see. All right, so here we go. You guys can see that our storm is currently right here, and we got not too much strong dust. It's not going to hurt too much, but I think it's going to get in the way of forming into a hurricane. That's why I say a good tropical storm that might be making. But that's something we do have to keep an eye on. So here's our this is where our shear is. So as you guys can see, not too much shear. The strongest shear is going to be probably not even really no much shear, if anything. So if we go up to here, I'm looking for one thing that I normally like to use, and I forgot where it was for a second. So just bear with me, give me a minute to find it. If we look for it real fast. All right, so here I think this is what right here. No, that's not it. I don't know where exactly it is. I'll probably put it in the next updation around the 9 p.m. updation. But if we look at let's look at our wind shear map right now. So as you guys can see, We have parts of the Florida right here. I'm gonna mark it out because it is kind of hard to make out with this lines and all that. So our red means unfavorable. Our green means favorable. So I'm gonna mark out Florida for you guys. The Gulf of Mexico. So it is right here, so you guys can see. Carolina's right here. The north. That's the United States right there. You got islands right here, and our storm is currently right now is about right here. So right now this storm is has no wind shear. Now once it starts to make its way into the Gulf of Mexico, I think that's going to be a different game for that storm where it's going to get into some type of shear, which can help it but not really. It's going to more weaken it depending what kind of shear it is. um, the yellow means neutral, which means it kind of doesn't do nothing, so it's not going to hurt it too much. We look at our temperatures, and right now we're looking at this. This is highly favorable for temperatures. So we look down here. Let's go down here real fast. You go down here. The temperatures, like I said, very favorable for the storm to support a hurricane. So that's something we do have to keep an eye on too, because that could be helping out the storm. Right now, nature is not bearing with the storm. It's kind of more hurting it right now because of the sheer, not too much dry air, but it's got that African dust that's going to be wrapping around it, which could cause some problems for that storm in the future. And, only time says we got to see if the GFS and the European are going to agree, because that's something we just have to see and wait. So if we look down here, right here, we're gonna look at this. All right, so this is our hurricane, which can sustain. So as you guys can see, we got the Florida here. The Gulf of Mexico can sustain what can a hurricane, where a hurricane can live. So right in front of the Outer Banks, Virginia Beach area, it can sustain a 940, so with a 950. So that's gonna be 950. So that's probably around a good category 4. So it can support a category 4 in front, which is a little surprising around this time of year. So like I said, very high. Then you got your islands right here, and the storm is located right here. I like to look at this because it's really good. The storm's located right in here somewhere, maybe a little further back. So right now it's not in too much of a favorable condition, but I think once it starts to make its way into the Bahamas and the Caribbean Sea, I think we're going to be seeing a different ball game with the storm, because that's where we are normally going to have supporting hurricanes and all that. So here's our potential wind knots. So you guys can see H5, tropical depression, tropical storm. Uh, this color is Hurricane 1, Category 1, Category 2. H stands for hurricane. Category 3, 4, 5. So the blue, it can support a Category 5. We're talking about right off um, the Carolina coast for Virginia Beach, even South Carolina, Murray Beach area. We're talking about a good Category 4 that can be supported, and in the Gulf of Mexico can support a Category 5, which is a little bit higher for this time of year, speaking of the warm air we're seeing. Yeah, but the time only explains what we're going to be seeing, so this is something we do have to keep an eye on. I'm probably going to do around the 10:30, maybe a little bit earlier, 9 o'clock, 8:30, maybe 8 o'clock p.m. tonight updation. So that's going to be a wrap of the video today, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on post notifications if you do choose to subscribe, and make sure you hit that like button, and don't forget to share this video with your friends, family, whoever. Thank you for subscribers, the most love I've seen on this channel. So thank you so much for the amount of subscribers. My goal for subscribers is to be hit 25 by the next probably the next week or two. That's my goal, or by the end of mid July. So I guess we're gonna be posting another video later on, and